So last month I went to Soul Quest Church in Florida for an ayahuasca retreat. And I get there about 3:30 Friday evening, and I'm having normal conversations and everything's fine. And I had a real positive ayahuasca experience. And about 3:30 a.m. I'm talking to this volunteer, and he's telling me all he's been through and what the Aya had done for him. And I briefly told him about being stalked by this hate group for 15 years. And we left on a positive note, and then Saturday morning, boom. Here we go again. Before I realized what was going on, I had asked Laura in the front office about camping overnight on Sunday with my dog. And an hour or two later, she comes out pressing me for details about my dog. And I finally told her he's at a sitter 5 minutes away, and she goes, "Oh, thank you for telling me all of that," and just runs off laughing. Never did hear back from her. And when I picked up my dog Sunday, he was really unhappy. He was a nervous wreck for over a week. Every time I tried to pet him, he'd just duck and flinch. Coincidence? Saturday morning, before I realized what was going on, I'm talking to other guests about the positive atmosphere and how I would volunteer there. Not 20, 30 minutes later, I'm walking by the back sink and this guy says, "Do the dishes." "Well, I'm just here to serve you by cleaning up your puke buckets all weekend." And all three of them just make that face and fall into hysterics. Now, come on, I'm going to drive 10 hours to Florida every weekend to volunteer. I wasn't thinking about the worst job there. It was just a general comment. I guess I didn't use the right word. Guess I didn't say it the right way. 15 years of everyone around me just desperate to find something to take offense to. Desperate to twist what I say and do into something negative. Desperate to trash on or destroy everything I have and everything I care about. And all the years I spent trying to explain myself, only to be run over in mid-sentence, or have whatever I'm saying there twisted into something negative, or have them just run off laughing. And here I am, still trying to explain myself. But hey, I didn't say anything, and anytime I see this guy with the hat, he'd just turn to whoever he was with and say, "There she is," and they'd just freeze and stare me down. I had I had different people, guests and volunteers, asking me about the rapé. "What do you think the rapé was clearing?" Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. Well, I was hoping it cleared that religious demon that had attached itself to me. But I don't say anything. I just smile and take my whoopings. Now, I read it was supposed to be a pea-sized amount of rapé, and I watched this woman fill her hand and run that pipe across her palm 5 or 6 times. And after she administered it, she told me to breathe in, and I just inhaled it all through my nose. I can't even describe the pain, and I could not cough it up. I was still coughing it up 4 days later. I guess I didn't do it the right way. Saturday morning before ceremony, there was a group of young volunteers who showed up. And anytime I went by them, anytime I saw them, they'd do the bug-eyed Carrie face and make the fakey coughs. The 4th time it happened, I just did the fakey cough back at this girl, and they just all fell into hysterics. All the normal conversation disappeared. People just started asking pointed questions, just digging for dirt, desperate for something to twist and pervert, just desperate to get their little digs in. So I went up, got in my car, and went up and bought a pack of cigarettes. And I just sat there smoking all weekend. To think I was kicking myself for not being able to give them up completely for the weekend. Kicking myself for having 3 cigarettes on the 10-hour drive down there. Well, screw it. I'll give you something real to bitch about. It all started at COR in 2005. I'm standing in the lobby after service, and one of Squeaky's clique runs up and screams, "Ew, you drink coffee? That's a sin!" And before I could respond, before I could open my mouth, she was gone. And all those people gathered around me, talking around me, without pausing, without looking up. They all took 3 steps back. And I'm just standing there by myself thinking, what just happened? And they weren't giving coffee away. They had a cafe right there in the lobby, and they were charging a premium for their fancy flavored coffees. And the majority, not all, but the majority of the people around me were holding the same cup of coffee. So it's okay for them, but for me it's a sin. Yeah, that's when I really started paying attention to what people around me had or were doing. And it was all the same stuff these women would put me down for. Perfect example was the Bibles. 6 different Bibles. Don't you think if I walked into any church or any group and saw everyone with the same Bible, that I would have bought the same Bible? And half the comments came from people or groups that didn't even have a Bible with them. But mine's wrong. Now, I did expect some comment about the smoking. I mean, I wasn't smoking before church, but nope, never. And I watching people pull into the parking lot, get out of their car and put a cigarette out, light up while they were leaving on their way out. And half the groups, not all, but at least half, someone would come in smelling a smoke, or drop their purse next to me and it would smell of smoke, or open their purse and they'd have cigarettes. Not once did anyone ever say anything to me or anything to them about smoking. From 2005 to 2009, there was not anyone in any church who made any fakey cough, any comments about an odor to me or to anyone around me, right? Until 2009. So my primary is pushing me into therapy because there is no odor. There is no way total strangers would be doing something this to you. It's all in your head. And I go to Heather, this Christian counselor, 4 or 5 times. And every time I would tell her what was happening to me, she'd totally blow me off, tell me she was going to pray for me, and then she'd start doing the exact same things. So I go into church Sunday morning, and there's Heather on stage. And when the pastor gets up and starts to speak, the entire lower level starts rocking back and forth and doing this exaggerated, fakey cough. And I don't know how many people fit into grace. The church had to have set hundreds of people. 4 or 5 times that pastor would start to speak, and before he could get 2 or 3 words out, he'd just pause and looking back and forth, looking around, trying to figure out what was going on, and all these people were just playing the Heather game. No one upstairs around me was reacting at all. Nothing. And we just sat there watching the show. I can laugh about it now. Isn't that funny? Now, Soul Quest is funny, too. Yeah, and I even hung out in the lobby after service. With several hundred people, looking for a pastor, looking for somebody to talk to, and there was not one person who ever looked at me or reacted in any way. Now, it's been big churches, little bitty churches, all kinds of different labels. And it wasn't each organization, it wasn't each group. Every single one of these women wanted to have the power, wanted to be the only right way. Well, go do it. You got no competition for me. You never did. Go do it. And I'm not leaving the men out. Time after time. Pastors, group leaders, all the way down. I'd get the same standard blow off or the carry face, or I'd have some clique run up from behind me and cut me off in mid-sentence with, "She's just looking for a man god." Blah, ha, 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 ha. And I spent 5 years in tears, begging, paying professionals. Nobody will tell me what's going on. There was not one person who wouldn't take part, not one who would treat me with any basic human decency. Remember Vale, that nurse practitioner? I had seen her for years. Not a lot. I wasn't in there all the time. But all of a sudden, she refuses to address what I went in there for, and she tells me I need to go to church and let him find me a man god. And I'm 35, 36 years old. I have never had anyone say something like that to me. I have never heard anyone ever say anything like it, anywhere. And in 15 years, it's all about the man god. Now I drive 600 miles to Soul Quest, and it only took 12 hours for the whole church to go on attack. Guests, volunteers, facilitators. The Saturday morning ceremony, Carlos and Chris, or maybe it was Anthony, the facilitators, I'm not sure, they're just staring me down. I can feel the venom pouring off these men. And that whole group of young volunteers that came in Saturday morning just lined up and sat there, staring at me with that bug-eyed carry face for 4 or 5 hours, literally the whole time. And after that, I was looking for the integration group for a half hour or more. The tent's empty, there's no one there, and no one can tell me where it is. Finally, this guy's like, well, he's running late. So I ask if I have time to take a shower. And this guy screams, "Please, go take a shower." And the entire courtyard just falls into hysterical laughter. And I almost didn't. I really did think twice about not showering the whole weekend. But that's not me. I wouldn't have been comfortable not showering the whole weekend. But boy, I considered it. And the Saturday evening ceremony, same thing. The facilitators, same facilitators, just staring me down the whole time. Every time I looked up, it's just daggers. And when I drank that Aya, it was not the same Aya. It was very, very bitter, very gritty. And I look up and they're both just sitting there with stone face, staring me down. Now, I don't have a death wish, but if they would have poisoned me, if I would have died that night, I'd have been okay with that. I'm good with my God. I mean, for years I thought this group would send some psychopath to take my life. But now I understand they're just having way too much fun. I mean, they need somebody to be screwing with. They don't want to have to start over with somebody new. And I did expect a bad experience with the Aya Saturday night, but I didn't sweat it. Nope, not at all. I had another good experience with the Aya. But every time I sat up, this troll across from me would start mimicking me, trying to cough up the rapé from Friday night. And the same trolls outside the tent would join in 4 or 5 times in like 4 or 5 hours. Not any other time, just whenever I would sit up. And that same guy, the same troll that's across from me, sat next to me during the breath work too. And it took a while before I noticed, but he wasn't taking part. He was just watching me the whole time. And since I couldn't get into an integration group Saturday, I didn't stay for the Sunday groups. Well, I got into an integration group for 5 minutes Saturday. I don't want you to think I'm exaggerating. And I did call the next week and left a message for the senior ministers like Laura told me to, but I didn't hear back. And I really didn't expect to, because it's still none of my business. So to answer your surveys, I've seen 15 years of the right way. I don't want to be the right way. I don't want to fit in with people like this. I would do anything to not end up the right way. And since the Aya, I care even less. Now, I still use low and no pH products. I still watch my nutrient intake so I don't overload my enzyme function, but I really don't know why I bother. I mean, if there was a cure, even if I tested today and my levels were normal or borderline even, and not 6 times higher than normal, this group wouldn't stop. It's just a game. So I don't care what you think. There is nothing on this earth I could have ever done to deserve something like this. It's all about the man god. It's all about the dollar signs. It's all about the power to kill, steal, and destroy. Haven't found any church I ever attended before COR in 2005? Well, just make something up. That's worked well enough for the last 15 years. Why would I purposely surround myself with people like this? I would rather be alone than ever be that lonely. And I always have. I know you don't understand it. And I know you probably don't believe it, but I've always been that way. 2 very similar sounding words with very different definitions. And Vicky knew that. We had that conversation twice when she was trying to fix me up with some barflies she didn't even know. I was never desperate for a relationship. I never had any burning desire to be married or have kids. And I wasn't against it. Not back then. It just wasn't a driving force in my life. And I knew she couldn't understand that, but I thought she finally accepted it. Nope, 13 years. All Dave had to do was put that thought in her head, and I couldn't even buy her belief that I wouldn't get with Dave if she died. Yep, I was just an easy target. And when I thought I found an actual partner in this world, someone I could see spending my life with, I couldn't have been more wrong. It was all a total lie. I was just an easy target. Wow, there's a real theme going on here, isn't there? And I was so desperate for answers. So desperate for answers. Church after church. I beat my head against that wall for almost 5 years. And now it's been 15 years. Okay, well, you showed me. I got it. I'm real good now. Did I not use the right words? Did I not chant the right way? Did I not catfight the right way? Well, duh. Did I not react the right way to spending 15 years being abused, attacked, and violated by total strangers and professionals, medical professionals? I would like to see any one of these people do any better in the same situation. But majority wins, right? I'm sure there's something in there like that. Majority wins, you won. It's like that Facebook ad that keeps popping up. Just join Facebook and react. Don't ask questions. Don't think for yourself. You're entitled to your hate. That's the only right way.